Car-Boyz! Yeah, we are live from London.
Hello.
And it's show 62, but I'm going to call it show 62.2 because we were supposed to do it last week. And we had technical issues.
62 revisited.
I put it in the log as operator error. That's finger trouble. Good day to you all. Welcome to the show. Yes, our former car radio show, of course, now with added pictures blasting across the Mediterranean Sea like a mistral wind. A mistral wind, I think that was my body fragrance in about 1978. I digress. The show that's all about cars and is put together on a tea and biscuits budget is back. This week on the show, we've got all the news that's fit to print in the news. We have all your correspondence in the mailbag. This week it's overflowing, and you can win big this week in our special quiz entitled Through the Classic Car Keyhole. It's a bit like the show Through the Keyhole with Keith Lemon, but unlike him, we don't black up for comedy effect and then regret it 10 years later. At least I'm not blacked up this week.
This is just a tan.
Just a tan, Simon. It's a very good one. The quiz this week, of course, is all about classic motoring and whether you know your Rolls-Royce from your Thunderbird, whether you can identify a Lotus Coupe from a hot little Italian number. And talking of somebody who loves a hot little Italian number, I'm talking about pasta, people. Here's Simon.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about pasta.
Well, you're not.
I was just thinking about a hot little number.
Oh,
Italian number.
Steady. Was it G or A?
But I do like the Italians. It's all good. We like the Italians on this show.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We are back. This show takes to the trenches for the betterment of our viewers. We've been across the globe this week in search of the best cars, the best driving routes, and the classic vehicles that you want to own. This week we have more weird and wonderful roads from around the world in the lost highways. And as Rich mentioned, we'll also be answering questions from the viewers' mailbag. And this week we also have an amazing classic car. A diamond in the rough, as you were. This week it is the Subaru Impreza.
Nice. With the frog eyes.
With there's different versions, but we'll tell you all about it.
Oh, good.
Stay tuned. So stay tuned for all of that and more. And I'm Simon Sujman, and this week it was, of course, last week it was Cliff Richard's birthday. We like Cliff Richard on the show.
We love him. There he is. Looking. Oh dear.
You have to guess which is the most recent picture?
Now, the one on the left is Sporty Spice, and the one on the right is Sporty Spice now. Oh, no, Posh Spice. Sorry, it's Posh Spice, they always say. The one on the right, I'm sorry, the one on the right is 10 years from now when he's dead. Is that? Did I get that right?
Possibly. You can smell the formaldehyde.
Okay, that's great.
He turned 80.
Did he?
Doesn't look any older than 25. In both pictures.
On a day over 79.
And because, of course, he is the Peter Pan and Pop. He is the young ones. Darling, here's the young ones. The young ones shouldn't be afraid.
Simon Sujman there, who definitely doesn't pick up young boys in London town, like many aging pop stars and DJs I can think of. I'm Richard Green, and I'm not gay, but we're all going on a summer holiday. No more working for a week or two. Fun and laughter on the summer holiday. No more worries for me or you for a week or two. Yes, summer holidays. Remember those?
Oh, distant memory.
We have a new sponsor on the show. We put together. It's a new water brand, an American-Scottish water brand with a taste of the country. It's Glen Campbell. What a fantastic!
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
It only sings when you open the top. Hang on. Here goes again. Galveston, and the Wichita lineman. Yes, it's wonderful, and it tastes of the. Alzheimer's. Yes, of course, our new sponsor, Glen Campbell, bringing you the spring water from the country. You see, did you get it? Because Glen
Yes.
Campbell's country and western. Anyway, more from our sponsor, Glen Campbell, later in the show. Yes, welcome to the show. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel is what I never say, but I should say more of. It's time now for my take. It's when I take a look at the world from my own view, which is honestly slightly warped, but always certainly entertaining. Each week, as I say, it's an authoritarian regime, this part of the program, where I reign supreme as El Presidente, with no room for any revolutionary discourse. In fact, as the Germans no longer use the Song of Germany as their national anthem, I shall usurp it to sing Richard, Richard, über alles. Now, last week, this is very dodgy, we're on dodgy ground here. Last week, so I've got Simon here.
That's fine. It ticks a box.
Last week, as signal lights that I was moaning about, this week it's all about traffic lights or traffic signals, as you say, over the other side of the pond. They've been around for years, more than 100 years. It's a good way to stop cars, horses, motorbikes and bicycles from all crashing into each other. They work well. Red means stop, green means go, and as I say to the children when they're in the back of the car, amber means go faster. Well, that's what I told the police anyway. Well, I imagine you'd have thought they couldn't reinvent the wheel. But, folks, they have reinvented the wheel. By golly, they have. A smart traffic light system which prioritises, believe it or not, cyclists over motorists is set to undergo trials at busy junctions in London and 3 other British cities. The AI technology will be tested in Wolverhampton, Coventry, and Southampton later this month with the aim to reduce the likelihood of road accidents. This is a picture of what they're proposing. The trials were delayed amid the COVID-19 pandemic. They will later reach South London with developer Now Wireless, explaining the firm has already been asked to supply a key component ahead of a rollout in the capital. What's that? A big bag of plasters and the number for 999. As cyclists approach the AI-powered system, video cameras mounted on traffic lights will detect the riders and force opposing signals to turn red. Lights then change to give cyclists street priority at junctions with any directional lights which could endanger road users also stop. Now, technology can also be adapted for cycle-only variants which give bikes priority over all vehicles travelling in the same direction. The initiative is said to cost less than £700 to install on each light. Well, for a start, you're going to have that's wrong, actually, this picture. You'd have at least, I'm guessing, 8. You'd have 8 lights.
Okay.
So that's 8 sevens, I don't know. There's a lot of money anyway. It's a step up from existing traffic sensors which struggle to acknowledge the presence of cyclists at all. However, news of the trial has been met with scepticism by some who insist cyclists rush straight through red lights anyway. The problem with all of this, like Beyonce, it's a big but. This thing will not work. I fail to see that at a busy junction in London with cars, taxis, lorries, pickup trucks, motorbikes, scooters, electric scooters, and of course bicycles, that this system will be able to differentiate between a motorcycle and a bicycle. But also what happens if there are multiple bicycles at multiple sets of lights? This resembles the crossing near my child's school, I would say at 2 o'clock in the morning. At 9 o'clock in the morning, there will be traffic all down the roads from either side. There will be probably 6 or 7 bicycles on each lane at each junction. Where I drop my kids off at school, there's a major set of lights. All of the vehicles I've described are at that set of lights. So how does it change to let the right cyclists through? So if the cyclists at every single junction, how does that system know to prioritise just cyclists? And if it just prioritises cyclists, what happens to the cars, the lorries, the buses and the motorcycles? Do they just stay at that junction forever until the very last cyclist has gone through? The whole thing's a complete non-starter. I mean, I believe in incredibly dangerous. If this goes ahead, many cyclists will be injured at junctions. I am constantly driving in traffic with cyclists simultaneously driving on the inside and the outside of my car. Last week, I was driving to my work and I was surrounded by a group of mammals. Of course, the cycling club, Middle-Aged Men in Lycra is the acronym. After they finally turned off right and let me get back up to speed, I wanted to drive in. I managed to hail them with the phrase, F you effing C words. No, now hang on, folks. I don't dislike cyclists. I am one, but I used to live in Asia. And might is right in Asia. The bigger the vehicle, the more you give way to it. Very simple law of nature that kept me alive and on my fold-up bicycle on the streets of Bangkok for 3 years. I'd go, oh, look, a lorry, I would say, and I would quickly cycle out of the way of its thundering path, and its driver no doubt hopped up on speed and caffeine. Now, this new traffic technology will recognise a cyclist is driving up to the set of lights and it will change green. So maybe the answer for me is to find a dead cyclist by the side of the road, strap him to the side of my car, and I can drive straight through. I guarantee there will be many of those dead on the side of the road if this goes through. Mind you, my problem with it will be solved. Any thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, you have to use them as one of those bonnet ornaments, like the truck drivers.
Ooh, you like strap him to the front with his little silly helmet.
Yeah,
like that.
But it doesn't make sense. So cyclists weave through traffic anyway. One, they're not paying tax to be on the road. They already get so many advantages to being on the road and using roads that we pay for.
Yes.
And yet now they're going to be prioritised. Doesn't make sense at all whatsoever. And as you're right in saying, it's probably going to cause more accidents than it's going to prevent them.
One thing you haven't mentioned is they have no insurance. They have no insurance. They don't pay the road tax. So if one crashes into my car, I assume he wants to sue me, then he has to sue my insurer. But there is nobody from my insurer to sue. And of course, he's got no license plate. So if he could just give me the middle finger and bugger off.
That doesn't make sense at all whatsoever. So if they've got this technology that can detect cycles, then surely if you put a little number plate on the cycle, they can read that.
There's an idea. Yeah, if we're going to go Big Brother, let's go Big Brother all the way. It sounds good. I'm slightly concerned you're wearing a shirt. Have you just come from court? You're wearing a shirt today.
No.
Is this
what I originally was going to wear was too bright, so I thought, no.
Oh, really? Good boy. So you thought you'd wear something that's strobe instead?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, good man. So see, we're TV people, we're broadcasters.
The other one would have been too much of a zebra. So yeah.
Okay, right. So we have some news.
Yes, let's go for the news.
News.
First off, in good news in empty cycles lanes, to get bin news, we've already talked about cycles, but the cycle lane brought in as a lockdown measures ease to try and reduce car numbers in London is being removed after causing traffic chaos. Less than 6 months after Transport for London, TfL, announced a series of measures to cut traffic in the capital, the Euston Road next to Big Green Euston Tower. The bike lane is set to be removed. Changes to the street, which saw some roads being closed to traffic except for pedestrians and cycles, caused major problems in parts of London as workers returned to offices but avoided public transport to ensure they were complying with social distancing measures. But after the reversal, there are calls for other schemes to be axed, including in Park Lane, which is a trendy part of London, where the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, announced the new street space measures designed to widen pedestrian and cycle lanes at the expense of carriageways. His office boasted cycling would be increased tenfold. Not quite sure how it's going to be tenfold. Pictures taken last month, as that is one of them, showed that many of London cycle lanes remained empty, as we can see in this picture here, apart from, what's the blue thing that's in there? It's a bollard.
Just bollard, stopping a bus going down there, isn't it?
Living bollards.
Yeah.
They show many of the London cycle lanes remain empty and the adjacent roads packed with motorists. On Monday morning, TomTom data revealed that there were 527 miles of traffic jams. That is up 43% from the same time last year. Public transport usage during the coronavirus pandemic is well down on normal levels, according to most recent data from TfL. Last Monday morning at 10 a.m, tube usage was only 32% of normal demand, and there you can see that's not even the worst that you've. That's like a 3 p.m.
Yeah, if you don't live in London, that looks packed, right?
Yeah.
So if you live in America in the middle of nowhere, or you live in France in the middle of nowhere, or you live where I'm from, in the middle of the countryside in the Cotswolds, cool, that's busy that day. No, that really is empty. If that was rush hour, you would not. There would be people standing in between the people sitting. Where the guys stood in the middle, there would probably be 15 other people stood next to him. That's rush hour in London. Yeah, this is not rush hour in London.
No.
So, poor old Sadiq Khan. I'm sort of feeling a bit of sympathy for him at the moment because he's currently tackling the proposed expansion of the
ULEZ?
the actual the congestion zone completely to the north and south circular. So he, in defence of him, he's tackling that because that is never ever going to work. To bring it all out to zone 4. Currently, it isn't even covering zone 1. It covers the tiniest. It's like a 1 to 2 mile square in the very centre of London. If you've been to London, you may not. If you've been to London, you've been to Madame Tussauds, and you've been to the Natural History Museum. You've walked around Hyde Park. You've been to Hyde Park, Regent's Park. You've been to Regent's Park Zoo.
Yes.
You might have walked
near Oxford Street.
Yeah. No, Oxford Street is in it. But if you've been to those areas, you've never been inside it. It is the tiniest. It literally is. You blink and you won't see it. And I think a lot of that, when it first came in, I thought, we're going to get near it. You'd see careful congestion charging zone, and still 5 miles into London, you still wouldn't hit it. But he has peed away £33 million on crap like this since March, and it's not being used. This week it's got even worse because we are now, London is something 2. Are we 2? We zone 2? Tier 2?
Tier 2.
Tier 2. Level, are we level 42?
Yes, we got Mark King going.
Living in the family, playing bass with his giant thumb. We're so basically even less people going to work than currently. Sadiq, it's not working. Give it up, sweetheart. Let people get back in their cars. And here's an idea. Why don't you get rid of all traffic restrictions in central London? Why don't you get rid of all the parking meters? Just get rid of them, not forever, just for a moment, and just see what happens. See what happens to the shops. Maybe people start going in them. That would be something unusual.
Little side thing. Jeremy Clarkson's been very vocal this week. There's some pictures taken by Clarkson. And the roads are absolutely jammed because of the
worst traffic jam in the world.
And he has, of course, addressed this to Sadiq Khan, saying, this is what your idiotic cycle lanes have created.
Yes. So please, Sadiq, before you go, because you are going, sweetheart, just get rid of the cycle lanes. Meanwhile, in Britain, Britain's second city, put my false teeth back in, gets ready to say goodbye to classic cars and poor motorist news, or working class motorists. Drivers of older polluting petrol and diesel cars who travel into the city centre of Birmingham will face daily charges of £8 from the 1st of July 2021. The new start date for the city's delayed clean air zone. Now, only motorists who use the cleanest vehicles will avoid the emissions tax, with a quarter of cars in the West Midlands city facing the charge. I said West Midlands City, it's the second capital of Britain. Who wrote this copy? That was the Daily Mail. There you go. The scheme, which had originally been due to be enforced from July 2020, however, a fault with the government's new vehicle checker. You mean a fault with the system the government works in? I've never heard of that. And of course, the coronavirus have pushed the zone's introduction back to next summer. The Birmingham Clean Air Zone is the first of many schemes in cities from next year, following the success of London's congestion charge zone and the ultra-low emission zone, which came into force in the capital in April 2019. All drivers of pre-Euro 4 petrol and pre-Euro 6 diesel will be stung with a daily charge of £8 to drive in within the limits of the A4540 Middleway Ring Road. The zone will be enforced by a ANPR, which is an automatic number plate recognition system. Those with ineligible vehicles who fail to stump up the daily amount will be slapped with a fine of £120. It means up to a quarter of locals could be stung with charges of £56 a week unless they switch to a newer and cleaner car. The scheme, which will operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, it means those who enter the zone at 11 p.m, maybe to go for a drink at night in a popular nightclub, not that I do that sort of stuff anymore, if you leave then after midnight, you'll pay the charge twice. It's worth checking your registration, but generally it means petrol cars pre-2006, diesel cars pre-2015 won't be allowed in. But my wife's 2004 Honda Civic would be. That's a very old car. Birmingham Council there, folks, determined to destroy the city centre, and they run a tram service as well, which goes to Wolverhampton. That's all it goes, just to Wolverhampton on the old train line. So bringing in the big bucks from the Black Country. This is a picture, and now I am familiar with Birmingham. Most people are not. The inner ring road is a little bit on the inside here. That's the centre, but they're talking about extending it all the way out to here. There's nothing out here. The city centre is in this ring road. I worked at Cornwall Circus for the Birmingham Post for a number of years. The other thing is it's a tax on the poor because poor people can't afford to replace their car anymore. And what really pees me off, because I know Birmingham very, very well, is that there's a great cathedral in the centre of Birmingham. When I grew up as a kid, they were renovating it and they were pulling off all the soot and the tar that had built upon the cathedral since the Industrial Revolution, of which Birmingham was the very centre of the world. Black satanic mills really do sum up what Birmingham was like. So every house had a coal fire, and there was all industry around there, and there was all the car industry was around there. There was this black smoke going up. All the cathedral was black, and I remember looking at it going, God, that was awful. And it was really, really black, and they stripped it, and now, well, they stripped it sort of 30, 35 years ago, and it's really still clean. So let's not kid ourselves that things haven't got better. They've got a lot better, and they will continue to get better. But this is a bunch of shite that won't work.
It's funny that you say that the London congestion charge zone was successful, and you kind of go, well, it's not really, because it hasn't really reduced congestion.
People just drive around the outside of it.
It's successful in that it's made a lot of money for TfL.
And if this thing does come to pass, and you are thinking, well, I want to get round this system, shall I just say, if you go online, you could buy a car in Calais for about £900. Learn the French for pardonnez-moi. Je suis sur les vacances avec mon femme. Je suis Pierre. And I would just drive around like that. No insurance, no tax, no MOT. Save yourself a whole host. I mean, I would never do it.
Just be on Rockstar.
Just be a Rockstar on Londra. And then you see the police won't send you anything because you'll have a French number plate.
Yeah,
just saying. They won't be bothered.
Yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, in your next Jaguar or Range Rover could be made from yogurt pots news. A British car maker owned by the Chinese and Indian and Japanese and
I think it's Chinese. It's Chinese now.
Yeah,
oh no, it was Tata. It was Tata who also owned that famous Indian brand Tetley Tea. That's a Tata brand. And sorry, so I'm just help me remember what I was going to say. No, completely forgot. The Taste of the Highlands by Kentucky.
Although I didn't realise that Volvo was also Chinese as well.
Volvo now majority share Chinese. I think the Japanese own the majority share of Jaguar Land Rover. Yes.
Yes, but Jaguar Land Rover will be using materials made from recycled ocean plastic and outdoor waste for the cabins of its future models as part of a brand-wide sustainability project. Floor mats, interior trims will all be made from econyl fibre. For recycled industrial plastic, fabric offcuts, and clothing manufacturers, fishnet stockings, and from the farming industry, and those abandoned in the ocean, known as ghost nets. And Jaguar Land Rover says that the efforts are part of its Destination Zero mission, with the use of patented yarn said to reduce the environmental impact when making traditional nylon fabrics. The vehicle manufacturer has partnered with the Italian fibre and polymer company Aquafil in its bid to increase the use of products in its cars that make environment safer and cleaner while offering customers a premium sustainable option. For every 10,000 tons produced, the Italian brand says 70,000 barrels of crude oil are saved and 65,100 tons of carbon emissions equivalent are avoided. It won't be the first time that material is used in vehicles, with BMW using it as part of its recycled interiors for the i3 electric and hybrid model since 2016. Jaguar and Land Rover said that the more environmentally conscious and sustainable materials will provide customers with a premium and hard-wearing product, while also helping to reduce the company's impact on the environment.
Let's be honest. They're not going to make the bodywork out of old fishing nets. It's going to be car mats and
I don't know.
bits,
Some of the early cars were like that.
and bits of and car mats and plastic trim. But do you remember when you used to go and buy a second-hand car? You'd always go and see if they could throw you in a pair of car mats.
Yes.
You go to a garage.
Or they're just a recycled stuff.
Can you throw in a tank of petrol and a set of car mats? Go on then, mate. Yes, we do have some exclusive pictures of the new Jaguar coupe roadsters that will be released.
The googly eyes.
Yeah, the Google. Those I think are lights, and it will be only driven by the Tomley-boos. Either that, or it looks like sort of Russian peasants. Do you really want your? Listen, I'm not the man who is going to own a Jaguar, but not yet. I've got another 30 years before I buy one of those. In burgundy with a cream leather interior. I'm gonna put my Panama hat, put my golf clubs in the back, and my Panama hat on the back parcel shelf, and then drive very slowly. If I spent 65 grand on a car, I want the dash made out of real seasoned walnut, not fishing net. Yes.
Proper planks of wood, proper burr walnut.
Yeah, and I just, it's. Is this? And I think it is. I hate to say it. There we go. And finally, Volvo invents a thing that nobody wanted news. Swedish car maker Volvo has patented a system that could allow customers to choose if they want the steering wheel in the middle, on the left, on the right, or in the middle of the vehicle. Yes. Sketches show a design that allows the wheel to be moved to 3 locations on the dashboard, and also a moving gear selector, shifting the front seats and the pressure-sensitive pads to replace the conventional pedals. The concept drawings were submitted by the manufacturer to US Patent Makers Office last month and could, in theory, spell the end of brands having to produce separate versions of these same models in left and right-hand drive markets. The sliding steering wheel design is an odd move, but is aimed at appealing to owners of future automated vehicles. Sketches show the steering wheel mounted to a track that allows it to slide across the dashboard, and with an instrument clusters on both sides. It's not just the steering wheel that can be moved as part of the patent. Drawings show plans for the rail system for front seats and the gear selector. The Swedish firm, yes, as we said, owned by Chinese giant Geely, is now planning to fit all new models in the coming months with cameras to monitor driver reaction, determine if they're drunk or distracted behind the wheel, and bring the vehicle safely to a stop if he thinks the driver is intoxicated. Yay! Volvo have invented a thing nobody ever wanted. I can only think it'll appeal to people who holiday in France, or those of us who wish to equally wear the driver's seat bolster alongside the passenger seat bolster. Oh, I've worn it slightly too much this side. I must switch it to the other side and wear the bolster on the passenger seat. I don't know why, unless they're doing this. I don't know why they're doing it, unless they're thinking, well, if we get in now, if somebody else has the idea, then we've patented it, so we can make some money out of it. The only place I've ever seen this is in the old Mercedes diesels, the big Mercedes diesel trucks, and their name escapes me for a moment. They had it, so you can have it either side, but they're the big sort of. Their name escapes me. It will come halfway through the program, probably. They're the big sort of 4x4s used in agriculture in Germany. I think the military Unimog. That's it. Unimogs had these, but I think that's something to do with the layout of a Unimog and what it's being used for, and to make it as easy to take apart and strip apart, and maybe do that even in the field.
However, I think I can save Volvo even more money.
Yes.
So instead of having like seats that slide around, so you can move your steering wheel and your seats, I think you should just replace the front with like a bench seat. That would be so cool. A bench seat in the front, so you can.
Very cool. My uncle was a car dealer, and I remember him when we were kids in the 1970s. He had a Hillman Imp that had no seats in it at all. So he put a little stool in the front, a little tiny wooden stool, sat on that and drove. And me and my brother just shot round the car. It had no interior, and he was driving it. Hey, come on, kids! I'm doing donuts in his dealership car park. which slightly,
Fantastic.
yeah, you couldn't do that with children. Heaven forfend that you would do that with kids these days. But yeah, this is just, I don't see the point.
I suppose they've patented it. I mean, patents last for what, 20, 25 years?
Yeah, something like that.
So they've just done it so no one in the future can do it, and they'll just make lots of money.
And I've just remembered the Rover SD1. You could move everything from one side to the other. You could move it from the left to the right. It was usually but the only places in the world that drove the Rover SD1 was England, which drives on the proper side, the left. Australia, which drives on the proper side, the left, and I believe Malaysia. I saw quite a few Rover SD1s in Malaysia who also drive on the left. So that was a completely pointless exercise. And this might be the reason that Rover went bust. I have got a great question at competition at the end of the program, showing you one of the reasons that Austin Rover, BMC, and BL went bust after 60 years because of stupid ideas such as these. So thankfully, Volvo haven't instituted this. This is merely at the design stage. Should we have some classic car collection?
Yes, let's do the...
Jazz band are here! Oh, they were? Come on, lads.
Come on.
Oh, hang on. Here we go. Oh, they're back. All right, boys. Thank you. That's enough.
Of course, in this country, they are only being furloughed to the end of next week.
Yeah, and they're not being furloughed on full heroin either. So it's only half heroin and half wine. They're going a little crazy down there, being the jazz guys that they are.
This week, the classic car we are looking at. I was out and about and I saw one of these for sale. And I thought, I'd do that as the classic car this week. We've talked about the Subaru Mark 1 Impreza before, but this week we're talking about the Mark 2. And it follows on from the successful Mark 1. Mark 2 was launched by Subaru. It looks like this. There's this version here.
This version here.
And it was launched by Subaru in 2000, and thanks to a successful stint in the World Rally Championship and a cult following, it was fairly successful. However, for some unknown reason, the early cars were fitted with these, which I know Rich likes.
I think that's a good look. Nobody likes this. And then, did they do this one later? Hang on, have I got the book? What's this one?
They did, yes. So what they did the bug-eyed version.
I think that's a better version.
They replaced it with
Frog.
that version.
Yeah,
absolutely right. And then they replaced it one more time with this one, with the corporate front end.
It's quite. So yeah, go on.
So the enthusiasts know them as the bug-eyed version.
Yes.
The blob-eyed version.
Yes.
And the Hawkeye version.
It's a bit like there was it. Who was it? It was Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and
Rat Pack
and Dean Martin. The Rat Pack, of course, they were blue eyes, red eyes, and Sammy Davis Jr. of course one eye. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Yes. Over the previous generation, the more popular WRX models got a bit of extra power, a little power bump, and increased 221 bhp and later 230 bhp from its 2-litre flat 4 boxer unit, which made a beautiful sound. Though by the time the second facelift was around, it had grown to a 2.5-litre version. As with previous generations, it was a rally stroke farming heritage. It had power was delivered to all 4 wheels and also available as saloon and estate model, because I know Rich likes the estate version. These cars were not pitched at your average family car sector. They were more in competition with offerings from the World Rally Championship teams, namely Mitsubishi, the Evo, Lancer Evo 7, and the Ford Focus RS. The reason why these cars are less loved than its predecessor before was because the figures on paper seemed impressive, but the reality was that it wasn't. It was slightly bigger, heavier by about 100 kilos, and it felt a bit more sluggish despite impressive torque figures, though the handling was improved thanks to a more rigid chassis. For what do you have to look for? Well, there's a lot of tuned versions of this car, and they were done by your average Joe, so beware, because they might be a bit shoddy. Though thanks to its cult following, there are lots of communities out there on the Tintweb, and they will lend their support. With the engines, check for oil leaks along the cam covers, And if it's been tuned, look for upgraded parts because obviously they're a bit more solid and a bit more reliable to take extra power. As with most oil-cooled turbo cars, check the owner idles, the engine before switching off so you don't have lots of turbo damage. And service intervals on these cars are 10,000 miles and should only be run on fully synthetic oils. Since it's four-wheel drive, check the centre viscous coupling and the rear diff. And if you take it for a test drive, there should be no whining or clunky noises from it. If not, that indicates some kind of problem. While at the rear, check for the shock absorbers, and they've been known to suffer from seals that dry out for lubrication. Surprisingly for Japanese cars, though, they suffered from poor build. Some of them did, including rotting radiator support frames and rotting wheel arches. Bit like Ford cars, and this doesn't mean that it seems too much of a problem on the later cars. It's also worth asking about the fuel pump, as failing ones run the engine lean and can result in overheating. Early models are going for sub £3,000, and that's for the bug-eyed version. But spend a little bit more. I found a 2007 model with 110,000 miles in that blue. Show there.
Le Mans Blue.
2.5 litre engine for around £5,000.
Wow.
So just whisker under £5,000, so 4,995. So I would say that's not a really bad price at all for a ready thoroughbred.
Yes.
Pretty good cars, four-wheel drive, dirt cheap to run. Okay, if they go wrong, they go wrong.
Yeah, I mean it's a rally car. Subaru, they're Japanese, but they haven't got
the mainstream Japanese.
No, I mean they
like Toyota.
They had their background was as agricultural vehicles, and I probably told you this story before. But my friend worked at a Subaru garage. People would come in with their Outbacks, which are these big old estates, or their Foresters, and they're old people living in the countryside, saying, this is a bit clunky. It's not performing very well. And they'd say, okay, leave it with us. And then my mate and his mate would jump into the seats. They'd hoon up and down the bypass at 90 miles an hour for 20 minutes and burn all the crap out of the petrol engines, the Boxster engines. And then they give it back and people, you've done a amazing job. You go, yeah, we have. There we go. That's your service. Drive it properly. And I grew up with a Subaru. Everybody either had a Subaru or a Supra. Toyota Supra or a XR3i or an XR4i. All the country boys wanted a 4x4 where I grew up. That was the Subaru was the king of them. Or Mitsubishi Evo occasionally. I do remember the Mitsubishi GTO. That was another popular monster that did. We need to do one of those on the classic car selection. But they are cheap for a reason. They go wrong. They go wrong all the time. My friend in France has a converted right-hand drive limited edition Japanese one of these, and it goes wrong a lot, and it costs him a lot to keep on the road. So there's your sort of, you're buying a. And by the way, by me saying it goes wrong a lot, it goes wrong a lot in compared to a Honda or a Toyota. It doesn't go wrong a lot in comparison to a French car or a BMW. They go wrong a lot. This is going to go wrong a little bit. And four-wheel drive, my wife would love one of these. She is a massive WRX Subaru fan.
I do love the sound of them as well.
Yes.
The Boxer engine.
Really nice looking engine. So yes, well done. Classic Car Collection. I can reveal that next week on the Classic Cars Collection, it is going to be a Volvo Coupe. It will keep you guessing. Which one will it be? It's going to be a very unusual one. You can get your suggestions to the Classic Car Selection and help us fund this YouTube channel, and also keep our jazz band in red wine and heroin. Email the Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook Car-Boys at Car-Boys with all the Zs. Twitter, it's car-boys at car_boys. Boys always with a Z. Instagram, it's car_boys with 3 Zs at the end. I believe we should take a trip now to our lost highways. Cool, that's enough of that.
Of course, it is the Lost Highways, and if you haven't heard this feature before, This is a feature where our listeners email us in and give us their favourite roads and the reasons why they love them. It could be a quiet coastal road that leads down to the sea. Alternatively, it could be a straight two-lane blacktop that leads to infinity and invites you to come the pedal to the metal. And whatever your poison is, let us know your perfect driving road here on Car-Boyz. We did flash up all the details a little bit early on, so let's go to our first one this week in the mailbox. It is Pedro from Porto. In Portugal.
Obrigado.
He says hello. He says hello, Car-Boyz. Have you guys ever been to Portugal? Have you ever been to Portugal, Rich?
No, I always get to Spain and I think, why bother going any further? I just can't be bothered. I go, I'm in Spain now. It's fine. I speak a little bit of Spanish, and so Portugal would require me to speak a little bit more Portuguese. My wife is a massive fan of capoeira. She does capoeira. So she's always wanted to go to Brazil. And my parents used to like going to Portugal, but I know nothing. I do have some Portuguese brandy that a friend brought back from Portugal. That was quite nice.
Well, Pedro says that they have a road which is named the best road in the world a few years ago, in 2015.
This does look good.
The road is 17 miles of smooth asphalt with some 90-feet bends to negotiate between Paso de Rigua and Pinha. It has been praised for its location, cutting through the heart of the stunning Douro Valley and the spectacular views that it provides of the wine region below. Wine. The road drives along the River Douro and the picturesque region wine towns along it. The valley is home to the Porto wine, he says, and his region became the world's first wine region to have formal demarcation. The Douro winemaking region was declared a World Heritage Site in 2001 by UNESCO, and he says if you're looking for an unforgettable experience, come along to Portugal. So that does look good.
UNESCO, they're not the same people who used to make the cereals. Or sorry, that was Nabisco. Nabisco, I'm getting confused. I think they used to make Shreddies. Yes. The United Nations were responsible for giving the world Shreddies. It does look a good road. I've no idea about driving in Portugal. I think my mum's done it. I think she said it was very nice. It's a very together country. Lots of nice things to do. My friend actually is his girlfriend is Portuguese, and she's Portuguese Australian, but they've just been over there during COVID, and he said. You could spend about €20 and you could have a dinner for two, including drinks.
Fantastic.
So that's about $20, isn't it? I mean,
well, and then of course you have to take the 2 weeks off.
Yeah, exactly. When you come back and self-isolate, which unfortunately he had to do. But that looks very exciting. Thank you for that, Pedro. We're moving now to Lucky Pierre 78. He gets in touch from Montreal and talks like that. Hello, my friend. I'm French Canadian, and he says I like to drink Pepsi. He says his lost highway this week is the Viking Trail in Newfoundland. There it is. Wow, largest highway in Newfoundland. The 489-kilometre Viking Trail is the only route to the Gros Morne National Park of Canada and Nance au Meadow National Historic Site au Canada. Driving the road end to end is almost 500 kilometres, takes 5 hours. There's historical sites there. You've got monuments, museums along the way, all of which illustrate Newfoundland's original Aboriginal people and their culture. This includes the Maritime, Archaic and Dorset Indians. I thought they'd be from Dorset, but there you go. All right, the Vikings and the Basque whalers. Nothing like I like seeing more than a whale in the Basque. But also noteworthy are the views you can expect to see: fjords, wooded valleys, not wooden valleys, glaciers, waterfalls, rugged cliffs, sand dunes, beautiful fields of flowers. That sounds wonderful. If you have time, worth visiting the Lance au Meadow National Historic Site of Canada, the very spot where Norse sailors first settled in North America. That's now the only authenticated Viking settlement in the Western Hemisphere. So the Vikings, came along that road, and that road looks pretty deserted. I would suggest you don't go there in winter. That would be my only suggestion, because I have been down to Dominican Republic in January, and it is full of French Canadians and people from Newfoundland who are coming down there to get some heat. and they're looking very white and cold. So thank you very much for that. Usual addresses, as we've quickly flashed them up once again, to get in touch with the show and suggest your perfect lost highways. Could be a motorway that goes straight past your house, could be a quiet country lane, could be something you use every day, could be something that's very exotic. We feature everything on the show. And now it's time for a bulging sack that's known locally as the mailbag. This week it's large and impressive. That's enough of that. Right, we've got a letter. We've got some letters.
We have got some letters, he says. I'm just trying to scroll up to find the letter.
Scroll up.
We have got Carrie, who writes to us from Porto. I must know
Pedro's girlfriend.
From Portugal. She says, hello, Car-Boyz. Hope you're all good.
Obrigado.
She's moving to Perpignan. West France for work. She wants to buy a car to help her to get from her hometown to Leeds into France. What should she buy? And should she buy in Portugal or France or not? She has between 2,000 and 3,000 euros to spend. So I'm thinking maybe she needs either some kind of cruiser to get across.
Yeah, you're going to need a large engine. This is 800 miles, the distance, which is quite, because you've got to go to Portugal, Spain, and then France, even though Perpignan is just into France. So it's about the same distance it is to get from London to Perpignan, minus the Channel crossing.
Okay. Yeah.
So you'll need a biggish car, fair distance. You've got to cross the Pyrenees. And unlike the Andes, and of course we know they're at the end of Eurystheus, you may need to drive it in two halves. You'll need a larger engine car. Traditionally, cars are always cheaper in Portugal than in France, and legally, you do not have to register the car in France for 12 months. Just look at the Polish cars who've been driving around London for 15 years. So 2,000 to 3,000 euros isn't a lot. We found this one. In Porto, it's a Nissan Primera, which is a horribly boring car. But this chap was it wasn't in Porto, it was in Lisbon, so a little bit away, but you could fly down there or catch the bus down there and drive this thing back up. 2,800 euros, 35k on the clock. It's a Nissan Primera, 2-litre, manual, full service history, 2005, 15 years old, but it's only got 35k on the clock, and it's got beige leather interior, which makes me think an older person has owned this car, which is good for you. So it doesn't need a cam belt yet. I mean, you probably would worth putting a cam belt in it because it's over 7 years. Yeah. But that is going to be a nice cruiser. Yeah, and manual, it'll be fine. It's not
all the toys,
all the stuff. And just drive it, keep it on the Portuguese plate for a while, and then if you want to stay in France, probably the easiest thing to do is register it in France, because there is a shortage of second-hand cars in France compared to Portugal. They're always cheaper. I think it's to do with manufacturing. I'm not sure. Moving across thank you for that one, Carrie, to Alfred in Doncaster. He says, hey up, lads, he's a Yorkshire lad. He says what he means, and he means what he bloody well says. He's turning 80 next year, and he's thinking of giving the beloved Jaguar 2006 S-Type diesel. It's the one that looks like that. It's the one that looks like the old Mark II.
Yeah, that's what the inspiration was.
But he says the bills have started to pile up. To be honest, he's loved the V6 diesel engine, but the car he doesn't do the mileage he used to. So he doesn't see the point in owning this one, and it's costing him a lot. Yes, I saw one of these the other day. I went and looked at how much one of these he could get for his one. Around about £2,000, maybe a bit less.
I'm sure it's cheap. Some for sub 1,000.
Yes, they're cheap cars. So he says, I want a smaller car, I want a bigger engine, I need an auto box, I want a decent badge, I don't want Korean, I don't want a Korean car in Pensioner Brown, he said. Money is not an issue because he's from Yorkshire and he knows what's brass, he knows where there's muck, there's brass. So I would go Jap, you don't go back, very reliable. We had the request a few weeks ago from somebody that wanted, I would say, a Lexus CT 200.
Nice.
This is an auto, 100 bhp, 1.8 petrol, very resellable, easy to park, easy to drive. The badge still has status. As Alan Partridge used to say, Lexus is the Japanese Mercedes. We found this one in Yorkshire. So this is also Yorkshire. It's a proper car, like cars used to be, with 45k on the clock, 2016, full service history. And it's got that thing that old people like, because they don't like leather. For some reason, they like velour. Well, this is better than velour.
Ooh.
This has got Alcantara, so it's suede. I don't know why they don't like leather. They
I thought
pretend
it'd be easier to wipe down.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Stating the obvious. I think because leather wears. My grandfather was always had like a velour. I was like, why don't you buy leather? And he goes, leather wears, son. Oh, yeah, but in the car, where are you going to live to? You're like 306. He didn't, by the way. He made 91. Yes, this is £11,000. So 2016, Alfred, full service history, Alcantara, not leather interior, auto badge, 1.8. It's also super reliable. And it's ULEZ compliant. It's a hybrid. It's got part electric. So if you go into, if they turn any areas, say Sheffield or places you want to visit, Doncaster, Leeds, into ULEZ areas, Wolverhampton. No, Simon, you can get there by tram. Have you ever been to Wolverhampton? It's wonderful. It's a wonderful place to visit. Yes, so this is the Lexus CT that we are recommending to a Yorkshireman, and I think that's quite a status little car, and it's quite a nice car, and he's getting on in years. That's going to be nice and easy to park. It's got the parking sensors all round, because you see most people's old people's cars have got scratches on every single corner. So
ultimately, it's Japanese, very reliable.
Very reliable.
It's a shame, really, that there was an old bloke that used to drive around in a S-Type, which was Sting, who promoted the S-Type.
Oh yes.
There he is.
There he is.
Actual publicity material there.
That's great. So what was the story that Sting? They made his video if he promoted the S-Type.
Yeah. So he basically got a Jaguar for free to make a video, and they got the advert from it.
And they got Sting, and it looks like he's monged out there. Sitting in the back.
That's how you could feel in the back of an S-Type.
I think I would, especially if I'd taken some of the drugs that the people that drive Jaguar S-Types are on.
Just saying.
Being honest.
Next one comes from David in Texas, the place, not the home care centre.
He wasn't being cute. Later on, he'll be in Screwfix.
Do they still have Texas?
No, they're gone, you fool. They're all gone. I think. Remember, have you ever been in a B&M?
Oh, B&M,
yeah.
They're up north. You don't get really much down here.
They used to be. There was a very good one in Hounslow. Very nice.
Fantastic. But David in Texas says, hello from Austin. He says, Car-Boyz, I hope you're all good. Yes, we are good. Now, I know you two limeys, he calls us limeys, ain't experts in Americana, but you're in luck. He drives a 1982 BMW 320i two-door.
Oh, nice.
1.8, 5
Steel wheels.
manual. Yes. But they look like they're only about 13-inch wheels.
Yes, I think they are.
He said it's been a great solid car, solid as a rock, with a bit of rumbling coming from the wheels. He's had it for 2 years, and the only thing that he needs replacing so far has been the water pump. Any ideas? Rumbling, I would have immediately assumed it would have been a wheel bearing.
Yeah, wheel bearings go bad fast on these guys. So the fact you've only just discovered it is amazing. Very strong bottom end, but bad bearing rules in low oil pressure. Go to also these things. When I was a kid, you saw them all the time in the UK. I mean, even into the 90s, you'd see these things driving around, but they're prone to rust, so there's hardly any left. They get rust everywhere, not in the arid conditions, though, of the Lone Star State. Also, the water pumps, as you found out, wear quickly, so you may need to replace the water pump again soon. Keep an eye on the fuel hoses, because the original ones in there were of low quality, and they leaked quite easily. We reckon it's the bearings. We had a look online. Go to your local BMW specialist, not the hillbilly down the road with 3 teeth, who just works on American steel.
Mm-hmm.
I work on GMs and Chevrolets. Yeah. You want a BMW specialist. Even in the UK, you'd want a BMW specialist. There's a place called Munich Auto in Austin who do such a thing. So those are the people you want to go and see, the experts that will go, if they find out your hoses are a bit shitty, then they can just rip them all out and put some new ones in. This is a car worth having. This is a very unique car in Texas. Austin, I don't know if you know, Simon, it's a very trendy city in America. It's always been a trendy part of Texas. It's the liberal part of Texas.
Okay.
The psychedelic rock band, the 13th Floor Elevators, are from Austin, Texas. And now that's the sort of car that you would imagine seeing in Austin, Texas. It's very cool. It's very Uber. It's very German. And yeah, drive it as long as you can. What a fantastic car.
I like the higher spec ones, which had the double lights on them.
Oh, yes, I'm going to say yes. This is probably slightly earlier. That one is very executive, isn't it?
Oh.
Yes, Hans has done well for himself in the factory. Finally, we go to Deirdre in Bath. In Bath. No, sorry, not Bath. We're not back in Yorkshire. What's the cheapest car she can get to work in, she says, on the outskirts of Bristol. She's been using the train for the last few months, working from home because COVID's everywhere. She needs to commute in once, maybe twice a week. She needs a reliable car. She needs a cheap car. She doesn't want to lease a car. She said, what can I do? She doesn't want to go on a bicycle or a motorbike. She's got £1,000 in her pocket. In a word, you need to buy Japanese or Korean. I would suggest this one, Honda Civic 2003. This is exactly the same as my wife's Auto Sport. Well, no, my wife's got the SC. This is the Auto Sport, a little bit more sporty. 79,000 on the clock, leather and Alcantara seats. A mix, so you can be old and young at the same time. 3 owners, 1,100. That's nothing. Cool. There's no rust on this thing. Yeah. 79 camera clock. Make sure. I reckon you could get them down to 1,000 on that, and make sure
some floor mats.
And some floor mats. Tank of petrol, a bendy bully, a microwave. Make sure the cam belt has been done on this, because the cam belt needs doing every 7 years or every 70,000 miles, whichever comes first. If it has not been done, the car will be a catastrophic write-off if the cam belt fails. So it's £300 to get the cam belt done. I know we just had it done on my wife's car. It's 300 quid. Go and get it done. Pay the money. And try and get that off, what they want for it. If they haven't had this done to this car, the cam belt change, then it's 300 quid straight off the top, because that's a time bomb waiting to happen. Alternatively, we found another one for you, a Toyota Aygo, which is it's not as they're not. I think the
quite smaller. Yeah,
the Civic is a 1.6 engine, so but she says she doesn't really need it. I'm trying to remember. The Bath to Bristol is a little bit of motorway driving, but if you wanted to,
very far, is it?
No. It's like 20 miles, 20 miles. That's so I'm getting confused now because I'm thinking of Bath Racecourse, which is near Bristol. But Bath to Bristol, yes. Anyway, I'm getting very confused. That's a 1.6, so that will take you further afield. Now, if you literally want to go from Bath to Bristol, get the smallest car you can. Toyota Aygo. This is a 1 litre we found online for you. 2006, full service history, 65,000. On the clock. That is nothing. Alloys, manual, 2 owners, for £1 under £1,000 at £999. Again, you want to make sure it's serviced. You want to make sure it's got a new cam belt. You want to make sure it's MOT. But that is equally going to be a very boring but a very fine car for getting you to and from work. If you wanted to go further afield, I would get this, the Civic. It is the most reliable car I have ever owned. We've had ours 11 years, and literally it is just consumables on this car. I mean, I can't speak for the Aygo, but what do I throw at it? I throw tyres, I throw cam belts, I throw oil and plugs, and nothing else. Nothing ever goes. And the other good thing about this, they made a lot of these buggers. So if you have a problem with missing parts, you can go onto eBay, get the parts with a 3-month warranty, and get your mechanic to fit it. My rear screen wiper motor went. I got a new rear screen wiper motor for 35 quid, and he fitted it for 20 quid. Nice and cheap, or very cheap. And actually, those alloys look quite good, because mine are ragged to hell. And it's the Sport. There you go. Why not? Why not? So, if you want to get your questions to us, be they technical or otherwise, email Car-Boyz at car-boys@outlook.com. Facebook, we are car-boys at car-boys with 4 Zs. Twitter, car-boys at car_boys. Instagram, at car_boys with just a 3 Zs at the end because 4 was already taken. I believe it is competition time now. Let me hear the crowd are here. Here they are. I'm stretching up. There we go. Yes, it's competition time now. Oh. Well, this week's quiz called Through the Classic Car Keyhole. A bit like Through the Keyhole with David Frost, but I'm slightly more alive. Hello, good evening, and welcome. I've turned into Bruce Forsyth slightly there as well. Now, what happened there? Now, do you know your Duesenberg from your Hispano Suiza? How about your MGB GT from your XR3i? What about your E-Type from your Stingray? Well, if you're the type of geek with petrol in your veins and dirt under your fingernails, then this is the show for you, and indeed the quiz. And this week is all about classic cars. Now, we all know certain cars are like fine wine and get better with age, unlike strippers and avocados, which don't. Nothing like seeing a stripper with a C-section scar to stop you throwing your pound coins into our pint glass, believe me. Really, believe me. Joining me this week is a young man who's come all the way down from sunny North London to the safe haven, albeit in Tier 2 of Richmond Borough. Hope you're well. Are you excited to play the game?
I am really excited for this. Looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll do well.
Super smashing, great. Up for grabs this week, a grand prize is this limited edition hood ornament, perfect for anyone who drives a Kia Rio or a Kia Picanto or a Kia Sportage, or even, in your case, a Mini. Look at that. This limited edition hood emblem will make you the envy, if not the joke, of your street. We found it on a website, on an auction website, so I guess this is made in China.
Fantastic.
And I think we could get that on the front of your Mini. And you will.
It's got wings. My Mini.
If we put this on the front and then in the back we put Vanden Pla, I think, yeah, you're living the dream. So, are you ready to play Through the Classic Car Keyhole?
Yes, let's rock.
And because this is version 62.2, new questions. Which brand's logo depicts a form of Viking longship? Is it Ford? Is it Chevrolet? Is it Peugeot? Or as I like to say, Peugeot? Or is it Lada?
Ooh, Viking ship, I think. I know Rover had it as well, but Rover wasn't on the show. So I'm going to go with Lada.
You are correct! Yes, there it is. The Lada Viking ship. Almost all cars from AutoVAZ, which is also known as Lada, are branded as such. In the last 2 decades of the Soviet era, Lada became well known in Russia and Eastern Europe. The Lada logo depicts a Viking sailing ship, which is the meaning of the brand itself. Among car logos, it has a unique presentation in their company. Yes, I think it was something to do with Vikings sailing into Russia. Lovely.
Quite possibly.
There you go. Terrible car. Right, moving on to question 2. So you've got a 1 right so far, haven't I, out of 10. What's the first name of Mr. Porsche, the founder of the Porsche car company? No clues here. The first name of Mr. Porsche, founder of the Porsche car company.
Mr. Porsche, I'm going to go with, his name is Ferdinand.
Ferdinand, the ball, and also, yes, correct, the Porsche, born in 1875. Ferdinand Porsche was an Australian or German automotive engineer and founder of the Porsche car company. He is best known for creating the first gasoline-electric hybrid, the Lona Porsche, and of course the Volkswagen Beetle, the Union Auto racing car, the Mercedes SSSK, several other important developments, and of course between 1939 and 1945 he has very little memory of. So 2 out of 2, well done. Okay, moving on. Motor City is the nickname for which American city? Motor City.
No, it would be where the great songs came out of, which is Motown.
Yes.
I'm going to say Detroit.
Detroit, yes! Hang on a second. Yes, of course, founded in 1701 by Antoine de la Mont Cadillac There you go. See,
Really?
yes, Monsieur Cadillac. It's an important industrial hub at the centre of the Great Lakes region. The city became the fourth largest nation, with the influence of the booming auto industry. It's very much, or Detroit is to America what Coventry and Birmingham are to the UK. And of course, that's what they dreamt of for Detroit back in the 1930s. And today, Detroit still looks as wonderful as it did back then, with young men walking around selling you crack. I think you can currently buy a house in Detroit for about $10,000.
That looks a bit like the old Rover factory as well.
Yeah, and that's probably what the old Rover factory is now in China, so it probably looks a little better than that. There we go, 3 out of 3. Which luxury Italian car manufacturer, founded in 1914 in Bologna, has the tagline of luxury, sports and style cast in exclusive cars? Which Italian luxury car manufacturer, founded in 1914 in Bologna, which I assume spaghetti bolognese comes from, has the tagline luxury, sports and style cast in exclusive cars?
Oh, luxury. So I would go for... See, it wouldn't be Ferrari, it wouldn't be... I'm going to take a punt at Lancia.
It's a good punt. Unfortunately, it's wrong. It was, in fact, this brand, Maserati. Maserati, an Italian luxury vehicle manufacturer, established in 1914 in Bologna. The company's headquarters are now in Modena, and its emblem is a trident. The company's been owned by Fiat Chrysler, of course, for many years, and that, I think, is probably worth more than my house, that car. That is a £2 million car, isn't it? Fantastic Maserati from back in the day. So one wrong. That's not bad. That's not bad. You're still all to play for.
Still on.
Oh no, I've lost the badge. Hang on, where's the badge gone? Hang on. We can't. Oh, grief.
I hope it's going to be made of metal and not plastic.
Yeah, I reckon it is going to be plastic. Sorry, it's over here. There it is. I reckon that is 100% plastic.
Look at the hand compared to the badge.
Yes, but let's face it. This is probably a Chinese person's hand, so it's very small. Right, moving on to question 5. CH is the international registration plate for which country? I'm not giving you any clues.
HC?
No, it's not China. China. Oh God, I'm on the wrong. It's CH. Oh, sorry. Sorry for our Australian viewers. People in Australia and New Zealand. Thanks, mate. That makes more sense. Yes, CH, and it isn't China. China.
No. Again, I'm going to take a guess. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's Switzerland.
Yeah!
Woohoo! Oh, you knocked your microphone off. We'll have to have subtitles. What's that? What's that you say, Rich? What? I think the second.
I've managed to unmute it now.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. The second word was off. Keep it clean. Children are watching. Yes, sorry, it was China, and you were right. It was in fact Switzerland.
Okay.
And I asked my wife this, and she said, "Of course, it's Switzerland." Cleverer than she looks.
I'm not. I'm not sure what the CH though refers to.
It stands for Confederatio Helvetica, which is a Latin name for the Swiss Confederation. And of course, the Swiss guards guard the Pope, don't they? So there you go.
The milk
and of course, they guard the milk chocolate and the cuckoo clocks. What is the name of the form of transport that stems from the Latin? We're staying with Latin for all. There is a name of transport. It's not a transport I care to use myself very often, but it stems from the Latin for all.
Ooh, that's a toughie. I never did.
No, you went to. No, you like me. You went to. Scumbag College. You went to a comprehensive.
Yes.
They taught you how to run away from people with baseball bats.
Form of transport. I don't know. I'm going to go with tram. That's the only thing I know.
Close, but no cigar. It was bus, as in omnibus, for all. And there is a yes, omnibus. and there is a fantastic bus full of COVID.
A Route Master.
It's a proper old Route Master. And where's it going? Tower Hill. Oh, it's nice. St Paul's Cathedral. I'd like to be on one of those. If you didn't know this, the Route Master survived in London. Sorry? Yeah, he drove one on the summer holiday. And and according to the film Summer Holiday, if you drove a bus like this, you got to take it on holiday with you for 2 weeks in France. Screw all the people waiting for a week or two. You could fill this up with young boys and drive to Perpignan in France. Why are you showing me pictures of posh boys? And so Cliff Richard drove one of these in Summer Holiday, the movie, in 1964, I believe. And now, what people don't realise is the only thing that was original on these was the frame, because they replaced the engines, and they were mostly, by the end of their life, Nissan engines, I think, in this.
Yes,
Nissan diesel engines. And they just went on. And I firmly believe we should still have the Route Masters now, because they're fantastic buses. Because you could hop off the back of them.
I love that.
And then if you're in traffic,
that had a thing that
so if you were clever and it was a busy day, the conductor was upstairs, you jump on the back of the bus, you'd hold on, and then when you saw the conductor coming, you'd just jump off. If there was a lot of traffic, you'd run to the next bus and jump on the back of the next bus. Yeah. You'd get all the way down the street without having to pay. Very nice.
Good times.
Good times. Sadly gone now of COVID. Okay, yes. The bus, of course, it was the omnibus. There we go. So you're folks didn't get that one right. It was and so you're now 4 out of 6. Now, which model of car produced from 1908, so it's an early one, to 1927, was the nicknamed Tin Lizzie? It was nicknamed Tin Lizzie. Which model of car in production from 1908 to 1927 was nicknamed the Tin Lizzie?
As opposed to the rock band.
Thin Lizzie.
Irish.
Yes, Tin Lizzie. Yes.
It would be, I think the car was only available in black. It would be
well done. We're going right here.
Tin Lizzie.
It was, of course, the
Model T.
Model T Ford. Yes, there it is. The Model T Ford, produced by Henry Ford, available in any. There's Uncle Henry driving, available in any colour as long as it's black. And of course, they exported them even to Ireland, where they called the car the Tin Lizzie as well. So there's the Tin Lizzie, the great car there in the old island, the Tin Lizzie, and had that hit with the rocker and. Filled the old Linnet. Fantastic. Now, compose yourself. Right, so you got that one right as well. So it's 6 out of 5 out of 7. Moving on to question 8. The model number of an Aston Martin is often preceded by the letters DB. What does DB? There's an Aston Martin, pretty little thing. What does DB stand for?
Now, DB, the grille was his trademark, the design of that front grille, and it was the designer, if I'm not mistaken, his name was David Brown.
It is, of course, David Brown. In 1947, the Huddersfield Gear and Machine Tools manufacturer, David Brown Limited, who also built tractors, bought Aston Martin, putting the car maker into its tractor division. David Brown sold the car maker in 1972. Yes, so the famous DB comes from his initials, David Brown. I live opposite a rugby club, and they have an Aston Martin tractor. They have a David Brown 1950s tractor, little red thing. I get very excited when it comes out. And that, of course, is the Aston Martin. So well done. Well on the way to winning this fantastic thing. And maybe if you go really well, we'll also have some music from the band, the old Tin Lizzie there. Tin Lizzie, fantastic, man. Right, moving swiftly on. 1945, what name did British car manufacturer... right, I'll re-ask the question again. This is question 9. In 1945, to what name did British car manufacturer SS Cars change to prevent an association with a Nazi organisation? So there was a British brand called SS Cars. What did they change their name to in 1945 in order to prevent an association with a Nazi organisation? I can give you a clue.
Yes, please.
Like one.
That's the kit.
The kit, a famous brand of cars. The Americans say it differently from the British.
I was going to say, is it
Yes.
something to do with Jaguar?
It is, of course, Jaguar. Before 1945, Jaguar cars were known as SS cars. Now, there's the
The
car.
lightning strike.
Look at the logo, for God's sake. You've got to be careful with that logo. Oh, my life. If you put that on a car, you'd be slightly worried. And, of course,
Yes.
they didn't want to offend the average Jaguar drivers, which were these people. Just
Carefully.
that is hair under his wife Braun would like to drive the Jaguar SS. Look at that logo, though. Yeah.
I might use those as my initials.
Yeah, you could use this. You're going to get shadow banned, man. You use that logo on anything.
Oh dear.
Look at that nice uniform like mine. Right, so you got that one correct as well. Well done. I think we're. I've lost count. I think we're about 8 out of 9, 7 out of 9. Okay,
7 out of 9.
moving swiftly on. Last question. Question 10. This is the corker. What was the name of the company formed in 1952 following the merger of Morris and Austin Cars? The name of the company, it's an acronym, it's a 3-letter acronym, formed in 1952 with the merger of Morris and Austin Cars.
Ooh. I'm going to take a guess if it's 3 letters with BMC.
BMC, the British Motor Company, of course, the British Motor Company, which then became British Leyland, then, of course, it became Rover, and then MG, and currently is known as the Flying Dragon Corporation of Guangzhou. And now the reason the British Motor Company, they were a very successful brand, and they produced a wide variety of very different cars, as we can see. So they produced an Austin Maxi, and they produced a Riley Kestrel, and yes, then they produced some MGs, which looked very different from the other cars that we were seeing, and then they produced a Wolsey, which looked very different again from the other cars, and of course we had the Austin 1100, and then they produced the Princess, which didn't look anything like the Austin 1100, which looked nothing like the MGs. Of course, they look very different from the Riley Kestrel. That looked very different again from the other cars, and of course the Austin Maxi, which looked very different from all the other 15 cars that were effectively the Austin Maxi or the Austin 1100. So there you go. That's British. How British car industry upped itself very quickly. But you haven't not effed yourself. You have won big. You have won big. You have won the prize. Well done, Simon.
Fantastic.
You win this exclusive Kia badge, your hood ornament that I'm sure you'll come to treasure in years to come. And of course, because you've got 8 out of 10, I should say, the band Tin Lizzy are coming and. I don't think that's Eric Bell, actually. I think that's Gary Moore is coming around instead of Eric Bell. But Finn Lennox will be there as the old bass guitar to play some of Tin Lizzy's favourite songs. That is it for us at Car-Boyz. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back next week with another show. It's going to be a Halloween show next week. Are you excited? Are you slightly scared?
Slightly scared.
We're going to be reviewing more cheap and cheerful cars. We'll give you the global motoring news, of course, and we'll tell you about plans in one country to legalise drink driving before you say it's not Scotland. It's already legalised there. Quick word from our sponsor before we go. Thank you very much to Glenn Campbell.
Thanks, Glenn.
The forgettable lineman of the county. Oh, Gaviscon. That's it from us. Bye-bye.
Bye.